Hi everybody, Sean Colgan here with Training and Safety. Today we're going to be going over the water ejector. This is basically going to be a refresher that we all should be pretty familiar with. So a couple things before we even start the operation that we want to be looking at. These do get banged around inside the cabinets quite a bit, so you want to be thinking about looking at the threads every once in a while. If you need to, put a little bit of electrical tape on there to save it from any dings and having any issues when you're out there on the field. So on the male end, that's what we're going to be looking for. Make sure that nothing has fallen inside of there, pencils or any type of paper or gum or anything that you have inside your cabinet. Also on the swivel on the 1-inch, you want to make sure that it's secure, and you're also going to want to make sure that you have that gasket inside there. On the actual intake side of the water ejector, you're going to want to make sure you look for the same thing. You want to make sure the threads look good, and you want to make sure that the gasket itself is intact. Make sure there's no openings bigger than the ones that the manufacturer has. If there is, that means we can get the breeze in there, which eventually is going to end up into your eye of the pump. So if we have issues and they're banged up or broken, make sure we call the service center and get that replaced. We want to make sure that the foot valve itself is working. So when it's stored inside the vehicle for long periods of time or not exercised, this valve in here, the actual clapper valve portion, could seat itself. And if that isn't working properly, you're not going to get that Venturi effect of the water. So you want to go ahead, inspect it, give it a little hit here on a tire. You can hear it. I was able to watch the spring move, and I know that this thing will be working properly. If you're having any issues, you want to go back through the procedures, and maybe you didn't make sure that the foot valve was working properly. The folks at Flow-O-Matic actually made the water ejector really fireman friendly. So you can see, obviously, we have the 1-inch intake, and then we have the actual 1.5-inch discharge. So to try to make everything easy for all of us, remember, we need to have 200 PSI coming out into the water ejector, and which is going to give us a net return of about 40 GPM. Altering the hoses, having 1.5 inches here, 1 inch coming out, that could affect the Venturi effect of the plunger and not allow it to work properly. So keep that in mind when you're setting up your system. We're going to need a couple fittings, and on your rigs, you guys should all know and be familiar with what you need to make your process go easy for you. The 1-inch is going to be coming out of the discharge side of the pump, and on the intake, we're going to be using the 1.5 inches. So today we have a couple different fittings that we're using to get ourselves from 2.5 down to 1 inch. And then obviously on the intake side, we got 2.5 all the way down to 1.5 inches coming back in. I want to verify that we're in pump. We got pressure. Take the pumps out, take the fill. I got my 1-inch line that's going to lead to my water ejector, and then 1.5 inches back into the actual engine. Throttling up to 200 PSI. Slowly going to open my discharge. Watching my hose. Checking for kinks. Opening that discharge all the way. Want to make sure I have no kinks in that 1 inch. Looking through the 1.5 inches. That's going to be supplying our rig, which is going to give us that 40 GPM net back to the rig itself. Verifying that I'm filling up my rig. thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and hopefully this will get us all prepared for the next and upcoming tag and for the wildland fire season.